Welcome to Culture and I-24 News Today. I'm Yael Wisner-Levy, filling in for Oded Grober. Today on the show, we'll talk to Israeli-Ethiopian author Omri Teg'Amlak Avera about the ongoing protests in Israel. We'll take a look at French art in the heart of Los Angeles. And we'll hear about the new TV series of the upcoming summer season. This week in Israel, a few major demonstrations broke out. Young Israelis of Ethiopian descent took to the streets to protest what they see as police violence and years of neglect by the establishment. In studio with us, we have Omri Teg'Amlak Avera, an Israeli author of Ethiopian descent, to talk to us about the situation and Ethiopian-Israeli life. Hello, Omri, and thank you for joining us.
Shalom, shalom.
How do you feel these days?
It's a very difficult period for me as an Israeli citizen, especially as a member of the Ethiopian community and as an Ethiopian Jew. It's complex for me because on the one hand, I come to participate in the protests, but at the same time I see the violence and I'm against violent protests. This doesn't represent our community.
In your eyes, though, what are the Israelis of Ethiopian descent actually protesting?
אני רואה את זה, קודם כל, אני רואה את זה בשני צדדים. מצד אחד יש את הצעירים.
I see this from two perspectives. On the one hand, we have the young community that has been disconnected from its roots and its identity.
בעצם תוצרת ישראל במרכאות. המדינה חינכה אותם.
They are a product of Israel, and the country educated them in their schools, and they don't learn their history, their past, about their tradition and identity.
אז הצעירים האלה זה האחד. מהצד השני יש את המדינה.
On the other hand, we have the country that decided from the beginning to be suspicious about the Ethiopian community and look at them as non-Jews.
כלא יהודים. ולכן היא דרשה מהם עוד בשנות ה-80 להתגייר גיור לחומרה.
We held on to our Jewish identity for over 2,000 years, and it is difficult when someone tells you that you are not Jewish enough and not good enough like them. We still had to convert in the 1980s, although we kept the tradition of the people of Israel for 2,000 years. That's the problem. Now the youth wants to return to its roots, identity, its self-esteem. It will allow people to find jobs. Identity makes a person strong. Identity makes a person strong. It gives you a feeling that you are worth something. People can't hurt your feelings.
And in your novel, Asterai, it deals with the identity, as you speak about the Ethiopian Jewish Israeli identity. Is this something that Israelis themselves don't understand?
אני חושב שהם דווקא מבינים. אני חושב אפילו המדינה יודעת.
I think they do understand. The country knows very well who we are, but it is difficult for them to accept that we are black Jews.
שאנחנו כן יהודים שחורים. אני לא יודע מאיפה זה נבע, מאיפה זה בא, זה צריך לשאול אותם.
I don't know where this is coming from. We need to ask them this. But they do understand. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We would have stayed in Ethiopia if the Ethiopians would have even allowed us to stay there.
אז ולכן הישראלים
Israelis do know who we are and why we are here, but they want to mold us in their own way. They don't want us to keep our traditions and to keep our religious leaders.
ולא להשאיר אותנו כמו שאנחנו, כלומר עם המסורת שלנו, עם המנהגים שלנו, עם הקייסים שהם כהני הדת שלנו. וזה בדיוק מה שאנחנו רוצים.
So how do you, as an Ethiopian Jew, an Israeli Ethiopian, keep the very delicate balance between keeping your traditions, the ones that you've spoken about, and integrating into society?
זו שאלה מאוד יפה. בעצם אנחנו, יהודי אתיופיה,
That's a good question. We Ethiopian Jews embrace all other communities, not because we are more righteous, but because the people of Moses are supposed to be like that.
כי בעצם האנשים ששמרו את תורת משה הם בדיוק כמונו.
Therefore, they joined different communities. Some became ultra-Orthodox, and so, even me as a person, very well connected to his roots, I still continue to embrace and learn from other cultures of the world and integrate them into mine. I also believe that we moved to Israel to learn about the traditions we forgot and to give and remind Israelis about the traditions they forgot.
קיבלנו גם מנהגים שכנראה אנחנו שכחנו, ואנחנו רוצים גם לתת לאוכלוסייה בישראל את המנהגים שהם שכחו. כי יש לנו המון מה לתת למדינה.
We have so much to give to the country. For example, the Sigid holiday, a beautiful holiday. Every year we go to Jerusalem to renew our pact with God, to renew the pact of Mount Sinai, and to receive the Ten Commandments.
לקבל את 10 הדיברות, לקבל את התורה מחדש בעצם. וזה, בגלל זה המדינה לא הייתה לה ברירה, הייתה אמורה לקבל את חג הסיגד.
The country did embrace it as a holiday, but it's not enough.
אבל זה לא מספיק.
What do you think Israeli society should do now following these protests, and what do you think will be in the coming weeks in terms of protests?
לפי מה שהבנתי, מארגני ההפגנות כן רוצים עדיין...
From what I understand, the protest organizers want to continue to have a presence. I heard in the news this morning that they want to stage a more organized protest, quiet, with a stage and artists, less spontaneous than the previous one that brought out the chaos.
יותר מאורגן, ולא ספונטני כמו שהיה, ולכן הזעם והכל פרץ החוצה. אבל... לעניין, ליחס הזה, מה החברה הישראלית צריכה לעשות.
What Israeli society needs to do? It's more about what the country needs to do. Israeli society knows and agrees with us. Everyone that I meet, they tell me that we are right and that we were supposed to do this a long time ago.
זה היה צריך להיות מזמן הייתם צריכים לעשות את זה.
But it is also painful for us to see the policemen who are supposed to protect us instead beat us. The country needs to say, let's embrace the Ethiopian Jews. They are Jews like us. But they shouldn't try to turn us into their own product. They shouldn't tell us how to practice the religion and allow our religious figures to continue the traditions.
Omri Teg'Amlak Avera, thank you very much for joining us, and I join the support and hold your hands, of course, as a fellow Israeli. Thank you for joining us.
תודה רבה לך.
Is French art taking over Los Angeles? Paris Photo, a high point in the year for lovers of contemporary photography, has had a sister event for the past 3 years in the City of Angels. And recently, French artist Speedy Graffito, a street art icon of the 1980s, has opened a new exhibition of his art. Our correspondent, David Gombin, takes us on a tour.
Paris is known as the crib of fashion, but Los Angeles also has its own red, white, and blue runway. Inspired by Paris Photo, one of the yearly highlights for photography exhibition. It attracts crowds under the majestic dome of the Grand Palais. Now for 3 years, the US version of this high-spirited event is delighting Americans.
Los Angeles is a place that moves a lot. There are many artists who come here. There are very large galleries that constantly move, so it only reinforces our feeling that Los Angeles is the place to be.
And for beautiful images, required is a mythical place for hosting the event, the executive Hollywood Paramount Studios.
Having found the Paramount Studios, where there's a genuine link with a moving image, was especially interesting for a fair like Paris Photo.
Not far from the upscale neighborhood of Beverly Hills, the gallery hosts Fabriano Castanier, known as Speedy Graffito. It is in this shed that the artist polishes the last touches of his new show, Artificial Paradise. His trick, surfing the symbols of the consumer society to better denounce it.
Here I'm really immersed in the marketing environment, so it's a good place to reveal many of these things.
Between painting and graffiti, iconography has always inspired pop culture. This type of free representation seen in the French street art does not hesitate to use logos, cartoon characters, and mass consumer products. All this to get the message across.
La publicité, qu'on le veuille ou non,
Advertising, like it or not, is always taking place. From the moment we turn on the television, we are in the pub, we are on our computer, the street with the billboards, it's part of our environment. These images each representing a worldview. The world's values are not necessarily reality, but we try to make people believe. We say, here, the world is like that.
on essaie de faire croire aux gens, on leur dit, bah voilà, le monde est comme ça.
But in the land of Uncle Sam, everything is marketing. In addition to its exhibition, our official paradise, the graffiti artist Speedy Graffito, has already planned its merchandising strategy. In December, he published a book, Speedy Graffito in America, compiling 4 years of work in the streets. And now in his latest book, Serial Painter, Fade 2. History shows a good brand image for the artist. If California has already enjoyed French wine and gastronomy, events held at this time will give them the taste of the French street art of Stephen Graffito.
In a moment, we'll hear more about this summer's upcoming TV series, but first, here's our cultural recommendation for today.
Major retrospective of Le Corbusier at Beaubourg for the 15th anniversary of his death. The Centre Pompidou dedicates a big exhibition to the work of the famous architect. Beyond the controversy surrounding his political ideas after the publishing of books was proofs that he was anti-Semitic and sort of a fascist militant, with ties to the Vichy regime. Not wishing to make a biographical exhibition, but focusing on the idea of the body and the work of the artist, the curator of the exhibition, Measures of Man, has chosen to exhibit some 300 works, all revolving around the theme of the body of the man. Drawings, models, paintings, photographs, original pieces including some never seen before. The body in all its states by Le Corbusier is at the Pompidou Center in Paris.
With me now is Avri Rosenzweig, editor of Culture Magazine. Avri, you are here with all the hot TV series of the summer.
Indeed. We're starting a new season these days. A lot of shows have returned. You know, people are following Game of Thrones with avid enthusiasm.
Absolutely.
But there are a lot of interesting new shows coming in. The first that we're going to talk about is Blunt Talk, which stars Patrick Stewart as a TV anchor in a comedic role. We're not used to seeing Stewart in a comedic role, even though he was in an Israeli comedy, Hunting Elephants, a few years ago.
True.
But the interesting thing about this show is that it was created by the creator of Bored to Death, which was a show that I found very funny on HBO. It was like a little known show. And it was produced by McFarlane, the guy who created Family Guy, who worked with Stewart. Patrick Stewart did some voice work on the show, and so he got him to do this show, and it looks really funny. He plays a sort of obnoxious sort of type, British type, who comes over to American television, and has many sort of really bad mistakes he does on
sounds
air.
right down my alley, and Patrick Stewart not being a scary character is great for me.
Yeah.
New face for Patrick. What else?
We have a very interesting show called Aquarius. It's interesting for actually two reasons. First of all, it deals with the Charles Manson murders in the 70s. We have David Duchovny coming back as sort of this badass cop who doesn't play by the rules.
X-Files-ish.
It's a network television show, so we don't know how hardcore it's going to be, but in a very interesting move, NBC, right after the show is going to premiere, they're going to put all the 13 episodes on the web.
Wow.
So
Following
they're sort
of Netflix and
yeah, they're sort of seeing if everybody wants to binge watch, we're going to let them binge watch, and then it's going to air weekly in a normal fashion. So that's kind of a very weird model.
Indeed.
It'll be very interesting
to
see.
You have to tell people, no spoilers, please.
Yeah. Another super interesting show is Grace and Frankie. by Martha Kaufman, one of the half of the creators of Friends, many years after that show, and it's bringing together immense talents of the big screen. We have Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin joining forces as two friends whose husbands in their 50s announced that they are now lovers, and so
wow,
it's a very sort of awkward position for them both.
Friends and next generations, or the older generations.
Giants of the screen. It's going to be very interesting to see how they fare on the small screen.
Avri Rosenzweig, thank you for joining us. And that's it for today. You can join us again tomorrow here at Culture. You can find us on Facebook and on Twitter and watch us all the time on our website, i24news.tv. We'll see you soon.